My sister said, how is she going to get deported if she's a Native American and we have proof? They said, well, we don't know because we're not immigration and we can't answer those questions. We're just holding her for them. You want to see what real independent journalism funded by the people for the people looks like?
You ever heard a story like this in America?
You're looking at it.
Congratulations for always being somewhere where mainstream media is not.
Flint, Michigan.
See you in Nevada.
Thanks to people like you, we can get the truth. Corporate media, they've been lying to us for years, and you're going straight to the people.
You are the man. I'm glad you're here.
For as low as 16 cents a day, you'll keep us on the ground, covering the important stories the corporate media covers up. Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. Breaking news, not enough for Trump's secret police stormtroopers to terrorize brown people all over Chicago and elsewhere, assault veterans, tear gas children. They nearly deported a Native American woman. A Native American woman. You just can't even make this up anymore, this reign of absolute fascist lunacy. Let me give you the details. Arizona tribal member nearly deported after Iowa jail issues ICE detainer by mistake. The woman's family had to scramble to prove she was Indigenous and shouldn't be turned over to ICE. A day before Arizona native Leticia Jacobo was scheduled to be released from an Iowa jail, her mom visited to verify pickup details with the staff. Erica Burns was excited to drive her daughter home after spending a month apart and wanted to make sure Jacobo wasn't forced to wait a minute longer than necessary. But jail staff told Burns that Jacobo wouldn't be let go because she'd be turned over to immigration agents, even though she's Native American. 24-year-old was born in Phoenix and is a member of the Arizona Salt River Pima-Maricopa Indian community. She was booked into the Polk County Jail in Des Moines, Iowa, where she currently lives, in September for allegedly driving with a suspended license. She was scheduled to be released on November 11th, but what should have been a routine process was complicated and delayed by an erroneously issued ICE detainer. She was ultimately allowed to leave just before 4:30 a.m. on November 12th. Her sister said that it was terrifying to be told Jacobo would be taken by federal agents, especially because no one appeared willing to correct the mistake at first. Quote, my sister said, how is she going to get deported if she's a Native American and we have proof? They said, well, we don't know because we're not immigration and we can't answer those questions. We're just holding her for them. So when they picked her up tonight, they're going to go ahead and deport her to wherever they're going to take her. But we have no information on that. Erica took a copy of Jacobo's birth certificate to the jail and stayed on site to make sure ICE didn't take her daughter. Lieutenant Mark Chance, a spokesperson for Polk County Sheriff's Office, which oversees the jail, said that the ICE detainer against Jacobo was the result of a clerical mix-up and was intended for a different person who was booked in the jail at the same time. ICE agents requested a detainer be placed on that person, but a mistake resulted in it being put on Jacobo's file instead. Chance said that, quote, internal discussions would likely be had. It's a human error. But I'm sure as soon as the command staff finds out about it, they're going to have some meetings with their supervisors. This is not the first report. I have told you about them ICE wrongfully detaining Native Americans, not giving them access to their phone. This is from January. Reports of Navajo people being detained in immigration sweeps sparks concern from tribal leaders. At least 15 indigenous people in Arizona and New Mexico have reported being stopped at their homes and workplaces, questioned or detained by federal law enforcement and asked to produce proof of citizenship. Navajo Nation officials have contacted the Department of Homeland Security, the governors of Arizona and New Mexico, and ICE to address these reports. This was in January, and now we have this very, very close call with a 24-year-old Native American. I mean, the whole thing is just so vile. I mean, this is Donald Trump's administration, and Donald Trump has historically and disgustingly just been straight up antagonistic and hateful to Native Americans, tried to close down casinos or basically steal casinos from Native Americans down in Atlantic City, has said some pretty racist things about Native Americans. But the fact that clearly they're just taking anyone off the street in terms of an ICE agent, Border Patrol agent, dangling $50,000 bonuses. They have no training, but it's pretty clear that they can't distinguish between certain minority groups and Native Americans are the original Americans, and they shouldn't have to show us identification. We should be giving them significant reparations. And, you know, all of this, it brought me back to an interview I recently did with Trina Lonehill. So many, frankly, white Americans are feeling right now. They're seeing this kind of invasion of the federal government, a president saying he might invoke the Insurrection Act, saying I could do whatever I want. You know, I'm going to dispatch the federal government to fight the enemy within. And part of me wonders, do Indigenous people look at this as kind of like, we've been dealing with this white imperialism and kind of fascism for hundreds of years?
We've actually been dealing with it since 1492. You know, we always like to say this, you know, we were a people, we were a nation prior to the statehood of South Dakota. We, you know, our borders, you know, before they were even a state, we were a nation. We had our territories, and we've been fighting since day one to keep our territories. And it's not just here in South Dakota. Like, our territories are Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska, Colorado, you know, all in the area. And it's you know, it gets a little tiring, but then we got to keep fighting for these treaty rights. We have to keep these going. We have to keep our kids, you know, in the know with these treaties, and know what is being violated, and making sure that for the next 100 years, they'll all be fighting this too.
Profound words. And apparently now they have to fight just to not be deported from the land that was actually stolen from them in the first place. And you might be saying, well, Jordan, you know, this is horrible, but it's only one case that we know of. One case that we know of. And the only reason it was prevented, the only reason that this poor 24-year-old has not been deported was because her family mobilized. They mobilized on social media. They mobilized with different tribal leaders to stop it. What would happen if she didn't have that kind of family and they weren't able to mobilize and organize that quickly? So it's just disgusting, because we have already, as we stand here, as we sit here, we have already created a country out of sin. Not to get on my high horse, but that's the truth. This country was created by murdering, raping, kidnapping, and genociding Native Americans. And we have moved them into modern day open air jails, which are reservations. They have some of the worst poverty in America, some of the dirtiest water in America. And now we are clerical error, accidentally trying to deport them. We will stay on this.